Thanks for attending, everyone. This webinar today is all around skills for study and kind of a deep dive into the resource itself. Just to start with a few bits of housekeeping, if everybody could just keep their microphones muted and their video turned off just for the duration of the webinar. The other thing just to mention is that this is a recorded webinar. So if at any point you do need to rush off, because I appreciate it's close to the end of the day in the UK, and internationally people might be up late and things. So if you do need to rush off, don't worry too much. The whole thing will be recorded and we'll be sending out a copy of that recording to everyone after the webinar has finished. So that's the housekeeping out of the way. So we'll get started now with the webinar. So just to introduce myself, my name is Alex Reid. I'm the UK team leader at JCS, and I'll also be joined by Hugh today, who's our sales manager in the at JCS. So it's going to be a kind of joint demonstration here. So I'll be covering the main resource itself and Hugh will be showing the admin side of things at the end. If you do have any questions during the webinar, do feel free to put those in the chat box. We'll come around to the questions at the end of the demonstration and go through all of those. So if they pop into your head while we're talking, just pop them in there and we'll get around to them at the end. So just to start with an introduction on us at JCS Online Resources and what we do. Hopefully some of you will be familiar with us, working with us in the past, but what we do is we're a subscription agent that works on behalf of a range of different publishers, including Bloomsbury, who are the publisher of Skills for Study that we'll be showing today. But we also work with people like JSTOR, Press Reader, Infobase, Gale, things like that. So what we do is we source these digital resources that are of a high quality for schools, negotiate with those publishers to get the best possible price for schools, and then offer a kind of a centralized place where schools can find those digital resources. And just to introduce as well Skills for Study, obviously we'll be doing quite a deep dive into it, but just to give you a general overview of the resource and what it does. Skills for Study, it's based on a book written by Stella Cottrell. So hopefully some of you will be familiar with the actual book, but that's been adapted into a digital resource to help support students. And what it will do is it will equip students with essential academic skills for that are kind of critical for success at key stages 4, 5, and then when they go on to university as well. So it will give them some of those key skills for that. So I'm just going to actually move over to the resource itself now, just so you can see that. So this is the Skills for Study homepage. Hopefully you can all see that. The best place for me to start really usually is the introduction to Skills for Study. Any student who log into the resource if the school subscribe will have this option up here, and I think it's kind of the best place to start for the resource. What it will do is kind of give a quick overview of how Skills for Study will actually help the student. And then down here, you can see some of the things that we're going to cover today and some of the kind of main things that the resource does. In terms of some of the kind of key reasons that we find schools subscribe to the resource, it's really, really good for preparation for when they're going on to university. We know there's a lot of universities where they kind of have to teach students these study skills when they go on to university because they're not quite ready for those kind of critical analysis of journals and things at that stage. So it's really good for preparing them for that. It also gives kind of a personalized learning pathway for students, and I'll show you that with the diagnostics test that you can see here in the traffic light system. So it's really good at kind of identifying which kind of areas students are struggling with and actually giving them feedback on those and which kind of areas they need to be looking at more. So it kind of gives that personalized approach for each student. So I'm going to go back to the homepage now. And you can see here there are 12 modules on Skills for Study for students, and you can see these modules just down here. They cover a range of different things. Some of the kind of more popular ones are things like writing skills, critical thinking skills tends to be quite a popular one. They've got stuff around exam skills, as well as group work and presentations are also quite popular ones with schools. So I'm just going to open up the critical thinking skills module first, just so you can see that. So once you click into a module, and also these modules are updated yearly as well, so they will be updated with brand new content. I know some schools have asked around whether things around AI and ChatGPT might be added in the future. That's something I have passed on to them and they're quite keen to do. So hopefully in the future, we'll see some modules added around that as well. So yeah, once you open up one of the modules, this is kind of the general layout. So you'll have a quick kind of description on what the module is all about, in this case, critical thinking skills. You'll see over here, they have an add to journal section. This journal is something you'll see crop up quite a lot, because Skills for Study are quite keen for students to kind of have some personal reflection. So you'll see that crop up quite a lot, where they'll have areas where they can add their own notes to their journal around what kind of each module's got them thinking about and how they can relate that to their own sort of personal development for Skills for Study. You'll also see you have the ability to bookmark that page. I'll show you my bookmarks in my journal section later, but that's where those will be added if they click on those. But the first thing students will start with is what's called a diagnostics test. What this is, I'll just open it up for you so you can see it a bit better. It's a range of different questions around that topic that students will be asked whether they strongly agree, either agree or disagree or strongly disagree to. Teachers aren't actually able to see how students have done on this diagnostics test. The reason for that being is that the developers of the resource felt that students might not be as honest if they know that teachers can see kind of how confident they are on each of these different sections. So this bit is purely for the students to see. Once they've completed that survey, which I've done on this one myself, they'll be given kind of an overview of the actual module itself and the different topics within it, and which sections of that Skills for Study recommends. They either highly recommend that the student looks at these, it might be useful for the student to look at, or if they're very confident on that section, it might just be worth a look for that. So on the one I've done, it's kind of identified that what is critical thinking is something that it highly recommends that I look at, and then it's given me some useful recommendations for some of the other modules. Once they've done that, they can either go back to the module homepage and look through the different topics within the module, or they can just click in straight to the bits that it kind of highly recommends to start with. So I'm just going to do that, and this will take me within the topic of the module, critical thinking. And again, you'll get quite a quick overview of what this topic is about within the module. Each of these kind of bits of text are hyperlinked, so that students can kind of get a quick definition of what is critical thinking before they start. So that's quite useful as well. It doesn't take them away from the website. It just gives them that very quick description on things that they might need a bit of definition on. Once they've done that, you can open up the topic of the module. And this is kind of one of the big benefits, I think, of Skills for Study, is that it's really, really simple for students to read. It's not overloading them with too much text. I know things like white space is quite a big benefit for students when there's a lot of white space in there to keep them kind of focused on it, lots of images. And each of these topics also has interactive elements to it, so it kind of keeps students engaged on the page. And it's also just really, really easy for them to read through. So in this case, it's kind of got different things to expand. Again, it's not kind of overwhelming students with too much information. It's just giving them very brief bits of information that they need. And if you scroll all the way down to the end, you'll see this is the journal section I was talking about, where students can reflect on what they've just read. It will ask them a question around, can they think of any other benefits towards having critical abilities? And they can enter those below. Once they've done that, they can save those results to their journal to go back to later. Or they can print and download it. So if they wanted to, or if teachers wanted to set students to do this from home, they could print out the whole page and bring their reflections back afterwards. And then lastly, they'll have the ability to show the answers. So if they're struggling a bit on that reflection and kind of want some support on that, or if they want to check what they've written is kind of along the same lines as what Skills for Study has said, they can do that at the end as well. Once they've done that, they can flick through to the next page. And again, I'm just going to show you this just so you can see kind of some of the interactivity that it has. So for example, sometimes there'll be true or false questions that students can select. They can then check that answer and see and get some feedback on that. So again, even if they get it correct, they'll still get some feedback about, why that's correct. That's quite good. I'm just going to go through to the next page just to see if there's a video. So there's not on this one, but there are some videos within these modules as well, so they can kind of get a short clip about this. Those videos are recorded by teachers and students. So again, it's really useful because it's kind of getting feedback not only from teachers, but also some students. So it's a bit more kind of the best of both with those. So I'm going to go back to the home page again and back onto critical thinking skills. So once they've had a chance to read through these, they can see a little progression bar down here, so they can see how far they've got through each of these topics within the module. And once they've finished reading all of those, or feel confident enough that they're ready to do a module assessment, there will be a short module assessment at the end. This assessment is visible to teachers, so once they've completed this, the teachers will be able to see what score they've gotten within that section. So they will be able to view kind of their progress on that specific element, just not the diagnostics test. So I'll show you this one. This is one I've already completed myself. So you get a score on that, which is automatically saved into your gradebook. Again, I'll go into that in a bit more detail later. And down here, you can see where they've answered their questions on these. So if I show you one of the incorrect answers, the good thing is it won't just tell them that they've got it wrong. It will also give them some feedback about why they've got that wrong, so they can kind of understand a bit better why they've not answered that correctly. That is also the case for, if we go back to results, even the answers they've gotten correct, it will still give them some feedback again about why that might be correct for the answer they've given. So I'm just going to go back to the home page again. You'll see here as well, this is something I kind of like to highlight as well, there is a continue where you left off button. So if students logged out and wants to come back in and go directly back to the page they were last looking at, they can click that button and it will take them back. So I'm just going to quickly go into the My Bookmarks and My Journal section. This again is just quickly to demonstrate that you can pin things or add things to your bookmarks and your My Journal section. You'll have the ability within that to filter by the module or the section of the module. So if you specifically want to look back on something that you've done in the past, you can quickly find those. It's exactly the same layout for the My Journal section. So again, they'll be able to filter through their notes from previous modules that they've done. And lastly, they've also got a My Progress section. So again, they can just see their progress through each of these modules and how much of the topics they've done and read through. There's also a diagnostics path. So again, they can see kind of their diagnostics tests. They can retake those as well once they've completed it to kind of see if they're gaining a bit more confidence in that area. So they can retake those as and when. And then you've got a My Gradebook as well, where you can see your results on the module tests. Again, students can retake those module tests. So if they want to go back and see if they've done any better the second time around, they can do that as well. A few other things I just wanted to highlight as well is this downloadable documents section. This section is really good for teachers to use. What they can do from in here, they can view all of the downloadable content that's available on Skills for Study. So all of these will be found within the modules, but this is kind of a place where teachers can go and quickly filter to find the stuff they want. So saves teachers a lot of time because they don't have to flick through the individual modules to actually find stuff that they want. So if I go, for example, to writing skills, click apply, I can actually go within the sections of writing skills, or I can just scroll through down here and look at, for example, the framework of an argumentative essay. And there's a really useful PDF that they can download, print out and hand out to students so that they can kind of build themselves a little framework for an argumentative essay before they get started. So again, it's all kind of built in mind of making things as easy as possible for both students and teachers to get access to the resources that they need. So that's a really useful section and it's kind of worth highlighting. There's also a video and articles section just up here. Again, similarly to the more resources section, all of these videos can be found within the different modules, but it kind of just gives you one central location with all of those videos in. So you can just scroll through, search by keyword, and find specific videos that you're actually looking for. I believe Skills for Study also mentioned to me that it's possible to embed these videos as well. So I think they get asked that quite a lot. So it is possible to embed these videos into your own VLE, for example, or onto your own web page so that students can quickly find those as well if you don't want to send them through Skills for Study. And these articles as well are just really good to highlight. These articles are written again by both students and teachers, and they're updated quite frequently. I think it's every month. So there'll constantly be new stuff added to that for you. So I think that's everything I wanted to show on the Skills for Study site itself. So I'm now going to hand over to Hugh, who will show you the actual admin area itself.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. And hi, everyone. I'm going to talk to you for a little bit now about how your users can gain access to skills for study, so access options, as well as showing off some of the customization that you can actually do on the site, and VLE integration as well, which is like a really important part of using skills for study and getting students and teachers, making it as accessible as possible, really. So the main access options on Skills for Study currently are email domain recognition. So it's basically username and password, and students and teachers will sign up to the site using their school email address. We can have multiple email domains in the system. So if your students use a different email domain to staff, then that's absolutely fine. The other two options are IP authentication. So this is where any user accessing the Skills for Study site on the school's network will be logged in automatically, which is really great for sort of one-click access and browsing the modules, in general. But we don't really recommend that as an access option if you're looking at using it with a wide range of students, just because of how the module statistics and the sort of the layout works. It should be done on sort of an individual student basis. The main sort of access option that most schools use that subscribe to Skills for Study is actually LTI integration. So I'll just share my screen and show you in the admin, a bit of the admin area on Skills for Study. So basically LTI integration provides full integration with your VLE or learning management system. So you can basically embed Skills for Study modules into your VLE, so that your users won't need to navigate away from the VLE or learning management system to use Skills for Study. So yeah, the advantage of this is you can embed sort of specific modules and almost kind of break the Skills for Study site up into sort of specific modules on different pages in the VLE, rather than having it all sort of in one specific place. So in the admin area here, you can see about more information about integrating LTIs. Most VLEs will allow LTI integration. We've already written integration guides for Blackboard, Canvas, and Moodle, which are the three really popular VLEs, but I believe Firefly do also offer LTI integration as well. So I know that's a really popular access option. So other sort of customizations, you can do on the site is you can actually arrange the module order. So you'll see up here on modules, you've got kind of all the different modules in a specific order. So what you can do is actually, so say writing skills is more important to your institution than time management. For example, you can actually drag and drop, change these and save the order. Oh, sorry, it's logged me out due to inactivity. Sorry, let me just log back in. So if I change writing skills to the top and then save the order. You'll see that writing skills is now at the top of the module page. So in the sort of admin tab, you've got all of these different descriptions of things you can do. You can also edit the appearance of the site as well. So you'll see in the top left that we've got the JCS Online Resources logo. That can be your school's logo. That's absolutely fine. I've also got a link in here to the JCS page. You can make that your school library page if you wanted to. So you can upload the logo here. Here's the sort of link to that page, and then the color theme as well. You can actually change the theme of the website to whatever fits your users best. You can manage your instructors, manage your students as well. So you can add or remove student accounts from within the admin area, create student groups, different classes, and manage your students in that way. If I click manage site content, one thing you can do is you can add sort of tips or messages that appear on certain pages on the Skills for Study site. So for example, I've got here that on the student homepage, there's a message saying, remember to submit your modules by 30th of June. Email librarian at test if you have any questions. You can add notes on these specific modules as well to give your students special assistance on certain modules, and also site-wide messages as well. I also want to talk about usage statistics slightly. There's two forms of usage statistics on Skills for Study. You've got a kind of per user usage, so where you can view your student grades and progress. So this, like Alex said earlier, this isn't going to show you the results of the student's diagnostic test because they're private, but this will show you their actual results from the module. So if we look at all your students will appear here, so you can see kind of the student progress, so how far they've got through reading the different material on the different modules, and then the actual grade book as well, so what they've scored on the certain modules, so that it's kind of, you get that feedback as well. You can also download sort of more broad usage statistics as well. So key metrics such as number of logins, average session length spent on the site with a nice little graph as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I think, from Alex and I on the content of the resource. I don't know if we've had any questions in the chat at all. Someone did send in a question asking if Skills for Study is mobile compatible, and the answer is yes, it's optimized for all browsers and devices. So if you operate a sort of bring your own device policy at school, then yeah, that would work absolutely fine. I think we've got some one question I think that was directed at Alex.
So I think we've got a few questions. So one around LTI integration with Teams. I'm not too sure about that myself. That's something we can look into and get back to you. I'm not too sure, but I think as long as, I think it has to be a VLE, and as long as it's kind of got LTI integration available, it should be possible for everyone. So yes, that's definitely possible. And then I think Tia had a question around the referencing module, I think, on Skills for Study. Let me just bring up modules. So I think it was around the referencing and plagiarism section, and kind of whether it's a replacement for Cite Them Right. You could look at replacing Cite Them Right for that. I mean, Cite Them Right is slightly different to Skills for Study in the sense that it's kind of teaching students how to actually do those references. I'm not so sure Skills for Study itself will actually kind of give them that you try section where they're doing the references themselves. It's kind of more around why referencing is essential compared with kind of doing things, and the different kind of, in fact, let me just bring it up for you so you can kind of see how the module looks for that one specifically. So if I just share my screen. There we go. So hopefully, yeah, you can kind of get a good idea of the citation section. So again, it's not really showing you how to specifically do a citation. It's kind of more around why do I need to cite? Where do I put this information? Which referencing system should I be using? Whereas Cite Them Right will actually help them construct those. But yeah, similarly, it could be a replacement for that resource, possibly, if you were kind of wanting to kind of focus more around why referencing is so important. So it could be a replacement for that. So are researching skills for the extended essay included in Skills for Study? Is a mini research writing project in the IB. Do you want to take that one, Hugh, for the IB?
Yeah, I'm not sure if the IB standards specifically are included in Skills for Study. Certainly information relevant to that would be there. I'll follow up with you if that's okay on that question. If Ellie, if you could note that down. I'll get back to you on that one. Thank you.
Cool. And then Tiffany, on where can I find this page? Is that around the referencing and citations? If so, yeah, that's on Cite Them Right, on Skills for Study itself. So if you do want to kind of actually check out some of these modules, we can set up a free trial for those and send over a link how you can access that. So yeah, if you're keen to kind of have a look at those and kind of do comparisons with other resources, we're always more than happy to get those set up for dates and times that work for you. I know school holidays are coming up in the UK, so might be a good time to kind of have a look at the resource and have a look at it over the summer. Or alternatively, if you want to look at it when you get back, that's absolutely fine as well. We can set those up.
Okay, I don't think we've had any other questions. So basically what we'll do is we'll follow up with you, or you'll receive an email with the recording for the webinar. Also, we invite you to come and trial the resource as well. So you know, we run a 14-day free trial for all schools, so please do come and register for that, and you can use it in exactly the same way as a subscription. You can add your student user groups, integrate it with your VLE and test out how that works. Yeah, I know it's sort of the end of the academic year for a lot of schools, but yeah, we can schedule it in for the new academic year if you're an international school, or yeah, as soon as possible for the UK.
Perfect. Hopefully we've not missed any questions. We'll have a look back through the chat afterwards as well. So if there are any kind of questions that we've missed at all, we'll circle back to those and send out and include them in our email afterwards. We'll send out a copy of the recording, I think you've mentioned already. But yeah, if you do come up with any questions afterwards, you can always email us. We've got a support@jcsonlineresources.org email. So do feel free to send those over and we'll be more than happy to help. Thank you very much for attending, everyone.